Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, live from the Circus Sportsbook here in downtown Las Vegas, as we are setting the stage for all the playoff action today in both the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs. Plus, we got a full schedule of Major League Baseball on deck, and that includes system plays. You guys know me and my system plays, and when it comes to Sundays, I like to call them System Sundays here in Major League Baseball. I want to talk about a couple of systems that I've been tracking throughout the course of the Major League Baseball season, and I've been doing this for years. But the first one up is simple. Teams to avoid the sweep. We know that sweeping a team in 3 games, or 4 games especially, is increasingly difficult in Major League Baseball. And this season, while it's not been the greatest just playing teams to avoid a 3-game sweep, 16-20 on the year, because a lot of the times these teams are heavily, they're dogs. And yeah, you can turn a profit because of the dogs on the plus money price, but I don't have any interest in backing the White Sox to avoid a sweep, or backing the Rockies to avoid a sweep, or a team like the Marlins to avoid a sweep. No. I like to isolate these spots in Major League Baseball. And I like to back home teams and favorites. This season, if all you did was bet the favorites to avoid a 3-game sweep, so a team lost the first 2 games, now they are favored in game 3 of that series, you are 10-4 this year, up $485. Congratulations, a $100 better. If you isolated that to just home teams, you are 8-4 this year on the home teams avoiding a 3-game sweep. But find that sweet spot in the middle. Get us a home favorite. When you have a home favorite looking to avoid a 3-game sweep, so they lost the first 2 games at home, and now they're looking to win at home and salvage the series, 5-2 on the year. And that makes sense because it's very hard to sweep a team. And also, if you're looking at, the teams looking to avoid the 3-game sweep and at home and you're favored, the market's on your side here, those are the teams I want to back. And so today, I'm backing the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's the team to back here, looking to avoid a 3-game sweep at home. The Pirates are at home hosting the Guardians. They are -120 favorites. So it's a slight favorite here with Mitch Keller on the mound, and Logan Allen will counter for the Cleveland Guardians. Cleveland winning the first 2 games of this series, 10-7 in game 1 and 3-0 yesterday over the Pirates. And I'm going to back Pittsburgh here to win game 3 at home and avoid the 3-game sweep. This also applies to, this also is a profitable trend when it comes to fading the teams on getaway day. And this is where a team that it has won the first 2 games of the series, and they have to go play another game tomorrow in another series, in another city, and that also applies to the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians win the first 2 games of this series in Pittsburgh. After this game in Pittsburgh, the Guardians will then hop on a plane and then fly home to face the New York Yankees for a 3-game set beginning tomorrow. That is a team I want to fade. If you are fading those teams this year, you are also 5-2, and you are profitable, up $350, fading those teams. So the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to be system play number 1 here for System Sunday. What other systems do we have here on Sunday? Well, if you are a fan of Major League Baseball, you understand that the final days of series are always on Sunday, not always, but for the most part on Sundays. Yes, you have the occasional wraparound series that begins on a Friday and ends on a Monday, but for the most part, it's a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe a 4-game series, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Also, Wednesdays and Thursdays are days that series ends, because you could have a 3-game series that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You could have a 4-game series that's Monday through Thursday, or a 3-game series that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I always look at these final games of the series. I just talked to you about a team looking to avoid a 3-game sweep, or especially a home favorite team looking to avoid a 3-game sweep, and especially a home team looking to avoid a 3-game sweep when the opposing team has to get out of Dodge and go play tomorrow somewhere else. It's getaway day. But also, I found something fascinating when looking at the final games of series this year in Major League Baseball. If you isolate 4-game series, now, I didn't believe this when I first saw it, but I've been back in this now for a couple of weeks, and I've been making a lot of money doing it. If all you did was play the home team in Game 4 of a 4-game series, that's right, it is Game 4 of a 4-game series, and you back the home teams in that Game 4, you are a perfect 11-0 this year. That's right. You are an undefeated 11-0 this year, backing the home teams in the final game of a 4-game series. And we have 3 teams today that qualify. The New York Mets, who are at home, wrapping up a 4-game series against the visiting St. Louis Cardinals. You have the Detroit Tigers at home, wrapping up a 4-game series against the Kansas City Royals. And the Tampa Bay Rays at home, wrapping up a 4-game series against the New York Yankees. Me personally, I like the Mets here, minus 135 with Clay Holmes on the mound. Sonny Gray will counter for the Cardinals, and Gray's 3-0 to start the year, but ERA of 3.13. FIP, we'll take a look at his advanced metrics as well. But Clay Holmes at home for the Mets. Mets feel good about this series. I like them to close this thing out, minus 135. I like the Tigers as well because we got reigning Cy Young Award winner Tarek Skubal on the mound, and they are a heavy minus 225 favorite. So maybe look at the Tigers in the first 5 or the Tigers on the run line. And I know we don't like backing home teams on the run line because you're not guaranteed that 9th inning at bat. But when you got Skubal on the mound going up against Michael Wacha, who's 0-3 with a 4.35 ERA on the season, yeah, there's a reason why Detroit, a heavy, now up to minus 225 favorite. The Yankees and Rays is interesting to me because, first off, when Tampa's home here, it's not really a home game for Tampa. This is the Yankees spring training facility. The Yankees have more fans in Tampa than the Rays do. And yes, Tampa spent all this money with the help of the Yankees, but they spent all this money converting Steinbrenner Field to look like a Rays home field. They removed all of the signage that said Yankees, all of the logos that said NY, and they replaced it with Rays logos all throughout the clubhouse. You have no indication. If you are a player playing for the Rays, you walk into that clubhouse, the only thing that might, push you is the facade and the Yankees retired numbers and whatnot. I know there was that joke going around earlier in the season with the giant number 2 being retired for Derek Jeter, and Rays fans were saying, oh, how nice, they retired B.J. Upton's number 2. But this is not the prototypical home ballpark for the Rays. Now, it will be, or it is, or it has been when they play other teams, but when they play the Yankees, not so much. The Yankees are obviously familiar with that entire facility. They're familiar with the clubhouse. They're familiar with the weight room, the training room, everything. And they're familiar with the hotels. A lot of them have homes there, not even hotels. So think about that. Like, you're a visiting team. Imagine this. You are a visiting team. You go to whatever city you go to play. And you got to stay in whatever hotel, and then you go out. You don't, maybe you're not sure what to do. Your friends, family, maybe they're not making the road trip. When the Yankees play down in Tampa, a lot of them have homes in Tampa because that's the spring training facility. So it's not like going into a random hotel. Some of them are going home to their condos. It's strange back in the Rays. I don't know if I can do it. And now you have Max Fried on the mound for the Yankees, who's been a Cy Young candidate to start the year, 3-0 with a 1.88 ERA, and his advanced numbers have been just as good, if not better. And, I mean, what a gift Max Fried has been for the Yankees, because with the Garrett Cole injury, with the Luis Hill injury, it's like if Max Fried has not been the ace that the Yankees were hoping he was going to be, where would they be this season? Fried has been just as good as advertised, maybe even a little bit better. So I don't know if I can back the Rays to pull off an upset here, although we've seen in the past couple of days Cy Young candidates get rocked. Paul Skeens last week gave up 5 runs. Hunter Green yesterday, a bad outing against the Baltimore Orioles. So maybe Fried can have a bad outing here. I think if you're going to play the Rays, go with the plus 1.5 on the run line because you're not laying a ton of juice here. It's only minus 125 or so on the plus a run and a half for the Rays. It's a way to back the system of the home teams to, win game 4. Yankees are heading to Cleveland after the game to begin a series with the Guardians tomorrow. So the Yankees could be a good fade candidate. I can't go against Max Fried, and I can't bet the Yankees as a true road team here because they're not a true road team in Tampa. But maybe on the run line, I could look at the Tampa Bay Rays. So again, home teams in game 4 of a 4-game series this year, an undefeated 11-0, and that would be the Mets, the Tigers, and yes, the Tampa Bay Rays. And the home favorites looking to avoid the 3-game sweep, 5-2 on the year, and that includes the Pittsburgh Pirates today against the Cleveland Guardians. Coming up next, we're going to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, but first, let me tell you guys about First Bet, because if you're ready to get in on the action, First Bet has you covered. You could sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day right from your phone or computer. Just visit firstbet.com. That's the number 1, stbet.com. Use promo code VSiN200 and score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com. Coming up next, my criteria on how you win a Stanley Cup and which team is the best bet because of said criteria. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on the Sports Betting Network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It's the VSiN Weekend Morning Line right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, as we get you ready for all the playoff action today in both the NBA and the Stanley Cup playoffs, as well as our Major League Baseball system plays we talked about last segment. But right now, I want to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs and my criteria to win a Stanley Cup. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, here's what I did. With the help of artificial intelligence, I'm not going to take all the credit in the world because I needed some computing power to kind of scour the internet and find a lot of years of data that has been compiled through various sources. Over the years, there's been multiple articles written about what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. Various media outlets have their own criteria, and what I did was compile a list of everything that I have seen scouring the internet. And I asked AI to look at the last 20 years of Stanley Cup champions. And so with the help of AI and also isolating my own personal bias towards what it takes to win a Stanley Cup, I have found the common traits of the last 20 Stanley Cup champions to help me determine who's going to win the Cup this year. And here's what I did. I used this criteria, and I used only the teams in these playoffs to come up with a ranking. Now, the first one is pretty simple. You need elite goaltending. Everyone knows that you need goaltending to win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I created a composite score comparing goaltenders' goals saved above expected, as well as the advanced analytical stat of goals saved above expected. And here's your ranking. Connor Hellebuck of the Jets is number 1. Andrei Vasilevsky of the Lightning is number 2. Anthony Stolarz of the Toronto Maple Leafs, number 3. Darcy Kemper of the Kings, number 4. And Logan Thompson of the Capitals, number 5. We put an asterisk next to Logan Thompson's name because still not sure of the Logan Thompson injury, if in fact he will be available for them in Game 1 and throughout this first round series. So we pause a little bit on Logan Thompson. But let's go even further. Special teams. You got to have good special teams if you want to win a Stanley Cup. So again, doing a composite ranking, I took a look at teams' power play percentage and their penalty kill percentage. And here are your top teams in the composite PK and power play. The Devils, number 1, Tampa, number 2, the Jets, 3, Capitals, 4, Avalanche, 5, Panthers right there with them at 6. Now, most people all across the internet believe that you need a top 10 scorer in order to win a cup. And here are your top 10 goal scorers on the season for playoff teams. Leon Draisaitl of the Oilers, number 1. William Nylander of the Maple Leafs, 2. Alexander Ovechkin of the Capitals, 3. Braden Point of the Lightning, 4. Kyle Connor of the Jets, number 5. Jake Gensel of the Lightning, 6. Sam Reinhart of the Panthers, 7. Mark Scheifele of the Jets, 8. John Tavares of the Maple Leafs, 9. And Cole Caulfield of the Montreal Canadiens, 10th. And I gave bonus points if you had 2 players that are top 10 goal scorers, like the Leafs with Nylander and Tavares, like the Lightning with Braden Point and Jake Gensel, and the Jets with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. The next category I find fascinating. Corsi percentage and Fenwick percentage. These are 2 advanced analytical stats that determine a team's possession and their shot attempts. Corsi measures all shot attempts. Doesn't matter if they're blocked, if they get through the net or not, every shot attempt. While Fenwick takes out blocked shots. So it's only shots that get through to the goal. They're either on net or they are missed shots. So I think Fenwick actually provides a better measure, but I used both to come up with the composite scoring again. And here are your teams in terms of that ranking. Carolina 1, Florida 2, Colorado 3, Edmonton 4, the Kings 5, VGK 6, Capitals 7, Devils 8, and the Jets are at 9. You also have to have a heavy team. You need to be physical in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's not just about hitting, it's about enduring the physical toll that winning 16 games is going to require here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And so here are your heaviest teams in the playoffs. The St. Louis Blues, who we saw in Game 1 against the Jets, by the way, really try to impose their physical will. They out-hit the Jets in that game significantly. But the Blues, average team weight, they are your heaviest, followed by VGK at 2, the Toronto Maple Leafs 3, Capitals 4, Kings 5, Stars 6, Devils 7, Canadiens 8, Oilers 9, Jets at 10. And finally, Stanley Cup experience. You want to have players and coaches that have been there and done that. And it makes sense. The teams that have the most Stanley Cup experience are the most recent champions, like Colorado, the Panthers, VGK, the Lightning, the Capitals. They all got players with Cup experience. And the only coaches, head coaches that we have here that have won a Cup, the most recent Stanley Cup champions. Paul Maurice with the Panthers, Bruce Cassidy of the Golden Knights, Jared Bednar of the Avalanche, John Cooper of the Lightning, and the Toronto Maple Leafs led by Craig Berube, who won a Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues. And so ranking each team based on a composite score in each category, here is what we come up with. The Washington Capitals at 4.6 with an asterisk next to them because if you take out Logan Thompson, it drops their score to a 5.6. But let's put that on pause for a moment. The Capitals at number 1, followed by the Winnipeg Jets with a score of 5.3. Then the Edmonton Oilers, 5.5. The Lightning and Panthers tied next at 5.6. VGK and the Leafs are at 5.8, Avalanche at 6.1, Devils at 6.5. So looking at this list, first off, the one thing that I will say is that it's not a fluke that the top 2 teams in this scoring system are the 2 best records in the NHL, in the Capitals and the Jets. It goes to show you that these metrics, that this data, that these categories are not just BS made-up categories. These categories show you what it takes to be a winning team. So to me, to find out that the Capitals and Jets were 1 and 2 validates these categories for me, because these were the 2 best teams in the NHL throughout the entire season. Again, Logan Thompson's injury puts an asterisk next to the Capitals. The report is he is practicing, and they feel, or some people feel, that he should be ready to go for Game 1. If it's not Game 1, he could play in Game 2. But without certainty, without seeing Logan Thompson in action, I can't confidently back the Washington Capitals with Charlie Lindgren as their starting goaltender. So I dropped them down a bit, which means the best bet to win the Stanley Cup is the team that I've been on since the start of the season, when they had this incredible start to the year, since the Four Nations break, when they were being overlooked in the futures market, and even right now, still being overlooked in the futures market. Yes, they won game one, so their odds have shortened up a bit. But at plus 800 now, it's the Winnipeg Jets. Now, in pocket, I could talk about having them at plus 1,600. I could talk about having them again at plus 1,200. It doesn't matter. Right now, bettable, after winning game one, they are your co-favorites to win the cup at plus 800. Actually, excuse me. The Avalanche are the favorite at plus 600, but the Jets right now you can get at plus 800. As for those Capitals, they're plus 1,100 right now, and that's where the Jets were prior to game one yesterday. Plus 1,100. Doesn't make sense for a team this talented. Doesn't make sense for a team that went wire to wire as the best record in the NHL, that has the best goaltender in the world, who is going to win the Vezina Trophy as the best goalie in hockey, who might win the Hart Trophy as the most valuable player in the NHL this season, who has two top 10 goal scorers in Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, who both, by the way, scored in game one yesterday, who has great numbers on the special teams, great, decent possession numbers. To me, it doesn't make sense why this team is disrespected. I understand the history. I understand, Hellebuck's failures in the past in the postseason. And, last night's performance, not ideal from Hellebuck, but a great bounce back, great fight for the Jets. Not just coming back down 1-0 to take a 2-1 lead, but then coming back down 3-2 to tie the game and eventually take the lead late in the third period. There's a lot to love about this Winnipeg Jets team. Well, there's a lot to love about the NFL draft. It's coming up here on Thursday is day one of the NFL draft. And right now you can get VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59 and get all the help when it comes to the NFL draft. And with VSiN Pro, you're going to get, all the daily best bets, the emails that include the best from the hosts and the guests. You get real-time betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video access on the VSiN Watch app, from the draft to the Derby and beyond. It's all there for you at VSiN.com. Sign up now, VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Get all the tools you need to bet the NFL draft at VSiN.com. We'll continue the Stanley Cup playoff conversation coming up next with our very own Jonathan Davis. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. It is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Let's continue the conversation on the Stanley Cup playoffs as we have several more game ones coming up today. Joining us on the Progressive guest line, he does great work writing NHL picks and analysis for us at VSiN.com. Also, SiriusXM's Ice Cap. He is Jonathan Davis. JD, thanks so much for joining us here on an Easter Sunday morning. Stanley Cup playoffs are underway, and before we get into the games today, what did you make of the performances yesterday, and has it changed any of your opinions on those series? The Jets with a come-from-behind win over the St. Louis Blues on home ice. And yes, the Avalanche blew out the Stars, although that score not really indicative of how that entire game played out.
Yeah, I think with the Winnipeg game, and I know you're big on the Jets. I think if you're the St. Louis Blues, you're disappointed that you had a chance to win game one. You didn't, but you still played a decent hockey game. And I think, you put a bit of a scare into Winnipeg. You scored 3 on Hellebuck. And look, Winnipeg has won game one, in their last 2 series, and then they've lost the next 4. I still think we have a long series here. I think the Blues do have a legitimate shot. In the case of Dallas and Colorado, it was a bit of a closer game than the 5-1 score would indicate. I would agree with you there, Scott. But at the end of the day, I really think that's a fair representation of where these two teams are at right now. I mean, Dallas, without Miro Heiskanen on the blue line, their number one defenseman, it's going to be very hard for them to get through this series. You have a guy like Heiskanen who plays almost 30 minutes a game. You can get away with replacing him during the regular season, but in a potential 7-game series, it's too much of a loss, I believe, for them to overcome.
I would agree with you. You know, I had to add Colorado to my Stanley Cup portfolio once the injuries started happening for the Dallas Stars, because I was invested on the Stars to win the Cup as well. By the way, my entire portfolio, by the way, JT, is the Western Conference. So if Toronto or someone from the East winds up winning the Cup, I am screwed, because I'm in on Winnipeg, Vegas, the winner of this Stars and Avalanche series. I don't know what to do with myself if a team from the Eastern Conference wins the Stanley Cup here.
Well, Scott, though, this one's a tough one for me because, I'm not a big believer in Toronto, but the price on the Maple Leafs to get to the to win the Eastern Conference, I think is really good.
Yep.
I'm always concerned about their two best players, Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, because I've said this before. I believe they like to win. I just don't think they hate to lose. And until they hate to lose, I think that's always going to be an Achilles heel for the Maple Leafs.
I wish you did that in the Shoresy voice. That would have made it even better, JD. I hate to lose. There he is. Jonathan Davis does great work at VSiN.com. Check out his plays for today on VSiN.com. And let's talk about this Maple Leafs team. It's the Battle of Ontario. We've seen this before in the postseason, not in quite some years, though. But while Ottawa has dominated the regular season, especially this year, Toronto has taken care of the Senators when it comes to these teams meeting in the postseason. You said you like the number on Toronto to represent the Eastern Conference. I do as well. Does it start with a win here in Game 1 over the Senators?
I'm not – the way I've approached this series here, Scott, I don't think I'm going to play game to game. And maybe if I did, I would just play Ottawa at the plus money. I've got this series. I bet this to go 6 and to go 7 at plus 200, and figuring I'm hoping to walk away with a small profit, a 1-unit profit here at the end of the day. The way I kind of targeted today is it's really about the player props for me. I'm big on Matthew Nyes of the Maple Leafs. I think he's got a chance to lead this series in goals, and I did play him to lead the series in goals at plus 170. But I'm going to play him for an anytime goal today at plus 260. I'm going to play Austin Matthews as well for an anytime goal. He loves facing Linus Ullmark. I think it's 11 goals in 10 games against the Ottawa goalie. And then on the Ottawa side, a couple of players that I would target. David Perron of the Ottawa Senators. It's been a rough year for Perron. His last trip to the playoffs, though, Scott, 9 goals in 12 games as a member of the St. Louis Blues. And Claude Giroux for the Ottawa Senators loves to play the Maple Leafs. 57 points in 52 career games against Toronto. He's got 81 points in 95 career playoff games. You can get him just to register 1 point today at plus 200.
Let's stick in the Eastern Conference. We'll talk about the Devils going up against the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina is a massive favorite, and I understand why, but I do think the Devils are live in this series. In fact, I took the Devils at north of plus 200 to win this series because I just don't think they're being respected enough. I understand Jack Hughes is out, and he's their best player. But they do have enough scoring, in my opinion, from guys like Jesper Bratt, who's had a great year, Nico Hischier as well, Timo Meier up front. And to me, the biggest difference in this year's Devils team and last year's Devils team, yes, we could talk about the goaltending. They shored that up, acquiring Jacob Markstrom. We know that. But this is a defensive team now. This is not the high-flying Devils of the past. With Sheldon Keefe at the helm, this has become a defensive team. So I think they could really make this an ugly series, kind of the type of series that Carolina might not want to get dragged into. They might not want to fight in this series. I think the Devils can muddy this up a bit, and I like the value on them at north of plus 200 to win this series. Am I crazy, or do you think New Jersey has a chance?
Well, Scott, you may be crazy for other reasons, but look, if I'm going to play the series, I agree with you. Like I could not, playing New Jersey at plus 235 would be the only way I would play it. I don't trust either team. And Jacob Markstrom was brought in to kind of be the savior in goal for for the New Jersey Devils. But ever since he came back from a knee injury, he's been really subpar. And you could argue that Jake Allen's been the better goalie for New Jersey, probably over about the last month and a half or so. Carolina, you don't want to muddy it up with Carolina. That's their type of hockey. They love to grind you down. This is the series that I have the least interest in. But, the only things that I've targeted for this series is for 3 Carolina players to lead the series in goals. Seth Jarvis at plus 700 and Sebastian Aho at plus 750. They've combined, each of them have scored 13 goals in the last 3 playoff years for Carolina. And then Jackson Blake has been a revelation for Carolina ever since being bumped up to the top line. It's been a big factor for Carolina. You can get him at plus 2,800 to lead the series in goals. So right now, that's the only way I'm going to target this series. I'm still trying to find, other creative ways to target it. But look, I don't trust either of the goalies on either of these teams for me to invest on a side in any of these games.
Feels like an under series, right? Feels like this is going to be low scoring, maybe between.
Yeah, well,
these two.
they've had they played 3. Well, they played 3 4-2 games, and they played 1 5-2 game in the regular season. It doesn't, playoff hockey, I understand, tends to be different. It's just like I said, the way that Markstrom and Anderson and Kochetkov especially have played. We could see goals just because they've all been rather leaky.
Makes sense. On this Vegas Golden Knights series against the Wild, which begins tonight here at T-Mobile, I sprinkled on both. I did the plus 800 on Vegas to win in a sweep, and then the bet that I actually like more is Vegas to win in 5. Why? Because I'm a softie. JD, I want the storyline. I want the sentimental nature. I want the final game of Marc-Andre Fleury's career, whether he plays or not, to be here at T-Mobile where he could bid farewell to the Vegas fans that embraced him so much as the cornerstone of this franchise when he was the first overall selection in the expansion draft. What better storyline than to say goodbye to the future Hall of Famer here at T-Mobile? So yeah, I did the plus 800 on Vegas to sweep, but I like Vegas to win in the gentleman's sweep in Game 5 at plus 400.
Yeah, look, and I see the value in it. The one concern that I have with with Minnesota, Scott, is that they're healthy, and they really, they haven't been healthy for over half the season. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov missed 41 of the 82 games. He came back for the last 4 games of the regular season. This is a Minnesota team that got off to a 20-8 start. And they were one of the best teams in the NHL when they had everybody in the lineup. So that is a concern. But for me, Vegas is one of the teams that I've got going to the Cup final. I think they are next to Colorado, I think they are the deepest team in the NHL. So I am big on the Golden Knights. I played Vegas to win. I took minus 1.5 games at minus 114.
Nice.
For the Golden Knights in the series. For a couple of prop plays here, Pavel Dorofeev, their leading goal scorer, 35 goals this year for the Golden Knights. I'm playing him, for an anytime goal, plus 230. I like him and Jack Eichel. I've split a half unit on the two to lead the series in goals. Dorofeev at 9-1 and Eichel at 6-1. I like Vegas in regulation today. It's too big a price for me to play them for the full game, but I just don't see this game going to overtime. So I took Vegas minus 125 in regulation. And then one player on the Minnesota Wild I'm going to target, Zeev Buium, Denver University product. He's going to be the 152nd player in NHL history to play his first NHL game in the playoffs. A great story for Buium, over half a point today at plus 186. This is a guy that grew up in San Diego, would make the 2-hour drive to Los Angeles, study in the car to play his youth hockey for the LA Junior Kings. There's no fear in this kid. I like him, and Buium's also.
Let's see if he makes an impact.
Power play unit. I like Buium over half a point.
We're up against it, JD.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Great stuff from our very own Jonathan Davis. Read his article up right now on VSiN.com. Get your plays for today's NHL Stanley Cup playoff action. 3 game ones Coming up today, we have the Devils at the Hurricanes. Carolina is a heavy favorite in this game. The Senators at the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto, a light favorite, minus 165 or so. And we got the Wild here in Vegas against the Golden Knights. VGK minus 200. And I'm with Jonathan Davis. We talked about it right before we went to break last segment. I am with him on Vegas to win in regulation. I even sprinkled a little bit to chase the plus money on Vegas minus a goal and a half. Right now, you can get at DraftKings plus 136 on Vegas plus minus a goal and a half. So we do like Vegas to win in regulation, and I'll take a shot at maybe they get a multi-goal lead or they do a little an empty net action or so. Let's go Vegas minus a goal and a half as well, plus 136. A nice little plus money chase there for that game coming up. Coming up tomorrow, Game 1 between the Canadiens and the Capitals, with Washington a minus 190 or so favorite. And it's Game 1 between the Oilers and the Kings. And LA is a minus 125 favorite. Now, let me just say something here. Now, I didn't get into it with Jonathan Davis. We didn't have a ton of time in that last segment. But one of my favorite first-round series bets is the Los Angeles Kings. You get plus 110 on the Kings to win this series. It makes absolutely no sense to me that they are the underdog in this series. Well, I should say it does make a little bit of sense because I can justify why people love the Edmonton Oilers, right? It's Connor McDavid. It's Leon Draisaitl. They went to the final last year. Everyone's finally waiting for them to get over the hump and win a cup. And this is the fourth straight year that these two teams are meeting in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And the Oilers have won the last 3 years, the last 3 series. This year it changes. LA's better this year. And on home ice, they have home ice advantage in this series. LA was the best home team in the NHL this year. 31 wins at home this year for the LA Kings. And their goaltender, Darcy Kemper, who's going to finish second to Connor Hellebuck in the Vezina Trophy award voting. If you just isolate his numbers at home, he has been otherworldly this year. I'm like, literally. If you look at Connor Hellebuck's numbers on the season, and as I mentioned, he's going to be the Vezina Trophy winner as the league's best goaltender. But if you look at his numbers in the regular season, a 2.01 goals against average, and a save percentage of .925. First off, Kemper's right there with him, 2.02 and a .922. Those numbers between those two guys, and the reason why Hellebuck's going to win is he played 13 more games than Darcy Kemper. So I get it. I mean, I'm not arguing against why Kemper should win over Hellebuck. But both of those numbers, 2.02, .922 save percentage, 2.01 goals against average for Hellebuck, .925 save percentage, 8 shutouts for Hellebuck, 5 for Darcy Kemper. Those numbers are comparable to the goaltenders that have previously won the Hart Trophy as the MVP of the league. Carey Price and Jose Theodore, when they did it for the Canadiens. Dominik Hasek had back-to-back years winning an MVP. Hasek's numbers he had a little bit. He had one season where he was like below 2 on a goals against average. But right around a 2.0, a 2.1, these are incredible numbers. But if you isolate Darcy Kemper for the LA Kings, when he plays at home, this season in 25 home games, 20 wins, 3 losses, and 2 overtime losses. A goals against average that this doesn't even make sense. 1.67. And a save percentage of .935. That's right, you heard me. A 1.67 goals against average on home ice for Kings goaltender Darcy Kemper. You're telling me the Kings, if this series goes 7 games, they have 4 games on home ice? How are they losing this series? This is one of my favorite bets in the first round. Is the plus money price on the Kings to defeat the Oilers. Plus 110. They're minus 125 in game 1. And yeah, I know they're going to be dogs when they go to Edmonton, but still, this team is so good at home, and Edmonton just feels like, bear with me here for a second, because I'm going to make a terrible joke. They're leaking oil. I paused for a dramatic effect there. To me, the Kings, the only way to look in this series, especially at a plus money price. You can still grab plus 110 right now on the Los Angeles Kings to defeat the Edmonton Oilers. I'm Scott Seidenberg. You hit me up on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, ScottsOnair. I want to remind you guys that right now at VSiN.com, you can get our exclusive betting splits. That tells you where the money is really going. And unlike other sources, our betting splits come straight from Circa and DraftKings Sportsbook, giving you the insight into where the sharp action is landing. Circa is known for taking big bets from pro bettors. DraftKings providing a more broader market perspective. That means you're getting the real action, not just the public money, but the kind of wagers that move the lines. You can see the percentage of bets versus the percentage of handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. Get VSiN's exclusive betting splits right now as a part of our summer special for only $59. That goes through August 1st. Sign up at vsin.com/subscribe. In Major League Baseball, it is a System Sunday. And so, without further ado, let's get to a best bet or two for today. And best bets, as we know here on VSiN, are brought to you by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. So, I talked about this earlier, a System Sunday in Major League Baseball where we have the finale of both 3 games and 4 games series. And it is a getaway day for teams that have to play tomorrow in a different city that they're currently in right now. So taking advantage of an extremely profitable system of backing a team that is a home favorite to avoid a 3-game sweep, while also backing another extremely profitable system of fading a team on getaway day that has already won the first 2 games of the series on the road, and now they have to go play somewhere else tomorrow. All those systems combined point to the Pittsburgh Pirates today against the Cleveland Guardians. Mitch Keller gets the start for the Pirates, going up against Logan Allen on the mound for the Guardians, and Pittsburgh is a short minus 120 or so favorite. Great price for a team that fits multiple trends. The updated numbers on the systems this year, if you just backed the home favorite to avoid a 3-game sweep, you are 5-2 on the year. If you just back the favorite in general, you're 10-4. But a home favorite, you are 5-2. Last year, you were profitable. If you just backed teams looking to avoid a 3-game sweep last year, you were 53.6%, 156 and 135 for a plus $3,436 profit. If you just backed the home teams last year, even better winning percentage, 58% straight up, 76 and 55 with a profit of $1,779 because the majority of the time those home teams are the favorite. This year, profitable. 10-4 plus $485 for the favorites. The home favorites, though, specifically 5-2. And if you were just, backing the teams to avoid the sweep, I mean, the getaway day teams like the Guardians are today. So you're 5-2 this year, fading those teams. Last year, you were 46-32 fading those teams, up $1,341. We are going to continue to play this trend. And so the Pittsburgh Pirates, the best bet on your Major League Baseball schedule coming up today. Best bets are brought to you by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. GBank is upping the ante with up to a $750 bonus for new GBank Visa Signature Card customers. First new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening will receive a $250 bonus. In addition, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within 30 days of account opening, you'll receive another $500 bonus. That's potentially a $750 bonus. Apply now at vsin.com/gbank, subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. Coming up next, we will get back into the NBA playoffs. We'll set the stage for all of the action coming up today. And yep, we have trends that apply to the first game that, to me, were eye-opening. Plus, based on what we saw yesterday, have we adjusted our opinions on some of these NBA playoff series? We'll answer those questions coming up next. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. You can hit us all up on the network here at VSiN Live. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line right here on the Sports Betting Network.